Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we are taking our sources out onto the water.
Yeah, we're looking deep into the world of electric surfboards.
Specifically, the big showdown. Jetboards versus eFoils.
It's a pretty hot topic in water sports right now. And it's more than just gadgets, isn't it? We're talking totally different ways to ride, different headaches with rules, and different tech driving it all.
You know, I was really surprised digging into the sources. These motorized boards, they're not exactly new. I always pictured like lithium batteries, sleek designs.
Very modern stuff.
But the idea goes way back, like the 1930s. And get this, the sources mention surf clubs in Berlin in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. What were they doing?
Strapping gasoline outboards onto boards just to surf the local lakes. Can you imagine?
Yeah. That's dedication. The dream's old, definitely. But it's the electric motor that really made it practical, and that's led to basically three kinds of boards today.
Okay, lay them out for us.
Well, first, you've got the sort of low power end, the ESUPs, electric stand-up paddle boards.
Right.
They're slow, maybe 5-10 kilometers an hour tops, but they can go for ages, like up to 3 hours. People use them for touring, a bit of novelty, or just getting a hand against the wind or current.
Okay, so that's the assistance category. Useful, but not really what gets the pulse racing.
Exactly.
Our mission today is the high-performance stuff. Which brings us to the main event. Jetboards skimming across the surface and eFoils, electric hydrofoils.
Yeah.
The ones that literally fly above the water.
And that comparison, jetboard versus eFoil, it often gets framed like, the classic skiing versus snowboarding debate. It really boils down to personal taste.
Ski versus snowboard. Okay, so what's the divide there?
Are you after raw speed, throwing up spray, carving hard? That's kind of the jetboard appeal. Or are you looking for that smooth, quiet, almost elegant glide, flying above it all? That's the eFoil experience.
Feeling the water versus transcending it. Okay, let's start with the fun factor then. What's it actually feel like on a jetboard going flat out?
It's all about velocity, pure power. These things can hit, 60, even 65 kilometers per hour? They're built for aggressive riding, sharp turns, steep leans. You often need foot straps, maybe handles, just to stay connected.
Wow.
Yeah, you're constantly fighting the water's resistance, but harnessing huge acceleration.
Sounds intense. But what about wiping out, crashing at 60 clicks? Is being close to the water actually safer, or is it just bad news either way?
Well, look, any crash at that speed is serious, obviously. But the sources generally suggest that because you're right on the water surface with the jetboard, a wipeout tends to be, let's say, less complex than falling from height on an eFoil.
Falling from height. Yeah, I can see that. Hitting the board or the mast on the way down. Ouch. So let's talk about that flying experience then. What's the eFoil feel like? People compare it to powder snow.
That's the common analogy, yeah. Snowboarding in deep, fresh powder.
Right.
Or sometimes wave riding. It's silent. You're just hovering. Steering is super sensitive. Tiny shifts in your weight make all the difference.
And speed. Is it still fast?
You cruise perfectly around 25, maybe 30 kilometer. That's the sweet spot. You can push them faster, sure, maybe 45, 50 plus. But you're adding height to that speed. The risk factor definitely climbs if things go wrong up there.
Okay, so for someone just starting out,
Yeah.
which one's easier to pick up? Instinct says the flying thing must be way harder.
That's what most people think, yeah. And eFoiling does demand pretty good core balance, so maybe slightly trickier right at the beginning. But honestly, if you've done other water sports, you can probably get up and flying within an hour or so.
An hour? That's faster than I thought.
But here's the really crucial thing the sources point out.
Right.
It's not just jetboard versus eFoil that determines difficulty, it's the board volume.
Volume, as in how big the board is. That matters more than the tech.
In terms of initial learning curve, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want the absolute easiest start, forget Jetfoil for a second. Just get a big board.
Like what?
Well, take a large jetboard, something like the Lampuga Air. That thing's got 210 liters of volume. For a total beginner, especially someone heavier, that's way easier to stand on and get going than any eFoil.
Easier than even a big eFoil.
Yep, because conversely, a small, really sporty jetboard, say, an Awake Revic S with only 61 liters, that's going to be much harder to master than a large, stable eFoil. Those small boards need speed just to plane, just to be stable. They demand way more agility from the rider.
Huh. That totally reframes the choice, doesn't it? It's not just jet versus foil first. It's stability versus agility first.
Pretty much. You got to know what kind of rider you want and what your starting point is.
Okay, fascinating. Let's shift gears hard now to the technical side. This is where I think it gets really interesting. Efficiency, range, power.
Yes. This is probably the single biggest technical difference between them, and it's stark.
How stark?
Jetboards are fundamentally energy hogs. They're always pushing water out of the way, fighting friction, surface drag. It takes a massive amount of power.
Which means?
Which means your ride time is short. You're looking at maybe 30 minutes, perhaps 55 minutes on a good day with a big battery. Maximum.
Wow, half an hour to an hour. That feels incredibly limited for the cost and effort. How do eFoils manage so much better?
Lift. The moment that hydrofoil lifts the board clear of the water, the drag plummets. Energy consumption drops by, well, the sources say up to 70%.
70%, just by lifting off?
Yep. You basically eliminate almost all that surface friction. And that efficiency boost means eFoils commonly get 90 minutes of ride time.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's already double or triple the Jetboard.
And with certain wing setups, the really low drag ones, people are pushing 2 hours. So yeah, you're looking at potentially a 3-to-1 advantage in range just from the physics.
Okay, if it's that much more efficient,
Yeah.
does that translate directly to the hardware? Are eFoil batteries like smaller, lighter, cheaper?
Smaller and lighter, definitely cheaper. Well, the overall board price ends up similar, but the components reflect the efficiency. Look at power. A Jetboard needs minimum maybe 10 kilowatts to get a 100-kilo rider planing properly.
10 kilowatts minimum, okay.
That requires big, heavy batteries. Total board weight often pushes 50 kilos, sometimes more.
Right, quite hefty.
An eFoil, though, it can handle that same 100-kilo rider using only about 5 kilowatts once it's flying.
Half the power.
Roughly, which means, yeah, smaller, lighter batteries. The whole eFoil setup usually comes in around 30 kilograms. Much easier to carry down to the beach.
That weight difference alone is significant. Okay, let's talk propulsion safety, especially with eFoils, because sometimes that propeller is right there under the mast, isn't it?
It can be, yeah. You've got 2 main types of eFoil propulsion. The propeller-driven ones, they give you instant, strong thrust. Very direct response. Aggressive riders often prefer that feel.
But the downside?
The downside is, as you said, the exposed prop. If you fall awkwardly, there's a risk, however slight, of contact. It's a real consideration.
How do manufacturers deal with that? Seems like a tough design choice.
It is. Some use really tough aluminum props. They perform great, but frankly, they'll cut through weeds, ropes. You have to be careful. Others go for plastic props, often designed with specific weak points.
But they break on impact.
Yeah, the idea is they snap off if they hit something solid, or, worst case, a person, rather than causing a severe injury. It's a safety feature, but means you might be replacing props more often. Performance versus safety.
That is a serious trade-off. Is there an alternative that avoids the exposed prop altogether?
Yes, and that's led to the rise of jet eFoils. These use an impeller housed inside a duct, just like a Jetboard's pump, but scaled down for the eFoil mass.
So internalized propulsion. Safer.
Much safer. No exposed spinning parts. They tend to deliver a slightly softer, smoother power curve, too. Less aggressive, maybe, but perfect for cruising, for learners, or just anyone prioritizing comfort and peace of mind over that raw, instant prop thrust.
So the market's kind of responding with options there. Interesting. Okay, we've covered the cool tech, the feel, the efficiency. But now we hit the wall, the fun killer, legality, rules, restrictions.
The revere, the riding spot. Yeah, this is often where the decision gets made for you, depending on where you live and plan to ride.
It seems like regulations are catching up fast. What's the general picture, say, in places like Germany, based on the sources?
Well, first off, anything over 2.2 kilowatts generally needs to be registered. That covers pretty much all serious jetboards and eFoils. But the classification is key, especially for inland waters.
How do they classify them differently?
Jetboards, being powerful and surface-bound, usually get lumped in with personal watercraft, PWCs. Think jet skis. In German, Wassermotorräder.
Okay, jet ski category. What does that mean practically?
It means more rules. Since 2023, Germany dropped the power threshold for needing a boat license down to 7.5 kilowatts. Most jetboards pack 10 kilowatts or way more, so you absolutely need a boating license to ride one legally.
Right, license needed. But that's maybe not the biggest hurdle. It's the where you can ride, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the real pain point for jetboards inland. Because they're noisy, because they create a significant wake-up. Wellenschlag, they face heavy restrictions on lakes and rivers.
Like what kind of restrictions?
Often, you're limited only to specially designated jet ski zones or routes. Or you might be allowed what the Germans call a Wanderfahrt.
A touring journey. What does that involve?
It basically means you can only travel in a relatively straight line from point A to point B. No messing around, no sharp turns, no repeated passes. Essentially, none of the fun stuff the board was designed for.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
You buy a 60-kilometer carving machine, and the law says you can only drive it like a slow bus, in a straight line.
On many inland waters, yes. It completely neuters the whole point of a performance jet board for many users.
That sounds incredibly frustrating, almost unusable legally in some places.
Which is precisely why the eFoil has such a massive advantage legally inland.
How so? How are they classified?
They're typically seen as small vessels, Kleinfahrzeuge. Because their power is usually around 5 kilowatters, they stay under that 7.5 kilowatt license threshold. And crucially, once they lift off the water, they create virtually no wake.
Ah, no wake, low noise, lower power.
Bingo. That means far fewer restrictions on inland waters than Ingowesser. Generally, if small electric boats are allowed, eFoils are often allowed too.
So does that mean an eFoil works well on lakes with common speed limits, like, say, 25-kilometer zones?
Perfectly. Like we said, 25-30 kilometer is the eFoil's ideal cruising speed. Super efficient, quiet flight. But that same 25 kilometer hours, many sporty jetboards can barely even get on plane properly at that speed. They need more velocity to ride efficiently or stably.
So the jetboard rider is forced to either wallow inefficiently or break the speed limit, while the eFoil is just happy cruising legally.
Exactly. That legal freedom and lower speed suitability make the eFoil vastly more versatile for most inland riding spots.
Okay, huge legal plus for the eFoil inland. But are there physical limitations, places where the eFoil can't go?
Oh, definitely. The big one is depth. That foil mass hangs down quite a way. You need absolute minimum about 1.20 meters of water, say 4 feet, just to avoid hitting the bottom.
Right, so shallow lakes, rivers, or beach launches could be a problem.
A massive problem, especially in what the sources called steravere areas, where the water stays shallow for a long way out. You could end up having to wade out, carrying that 30-kilogram board for hundreds of meters just to find enough depth to launch safely. That's a workout before you even start riding.
Okay, depth is the eFoil's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Got it. And quickly, any absolute no-go zones mentioned?
Yeah, the sources highlighted a couple of big ones in Germany specifically. Lake Constance the Bodensee is largely off limits because the Swiss side prohibits them, and that rule effectively applies across the lake.
Right. International waters complications.
And also, most of the big lakes in Bavaria are managed by the state's palaces and lakes administration, and they've just put a blanket ban on electric surfboards. So if you live near those, well, the decision's kind of made for you.
Yikes. A lot to navigate, literally and figuratively, before you even spend a single euro, which brings us to cost.
Yep, the bottom line.
Given that huge efficiency difference, I kind of expected eFoils to be way cheaper, or jetboards way more expensive. Is that how it shakes out?
You know, surprisingly, no. What's happened is that at the premium end of the market, the prices have basically converged.
Really? Parity.
Pretty much. If you're looking at top quality, reliable brands for either a jetboard or an eFoil, you're generally in the same ballpark. Maybe 13,000 euros up to 20,000 euros, or even more for the really high-spec stuff.
So sticker price isn't the deciding factor between the two types if you want quality.
Not really, no.
Why are they so expensive then, especially when you see cheaper, maybe less known brands popping up? What justifies that premium price tag?
That's a great question, and the sources really stress this. The hidden cost of support.
Hidden cost, meaning?
Meaning when you buy a significantly cheaper board, corners have almost certainly been cut somewhere. Usually it's in the components, the battery cells, the motor controller, the wireless remote, the build quality.
And good cheaper parts, leading to more problems.
Leading to far more frequent issues, breakdowns, and needing support. And this is where the premium brands justify their price. It's not just better, more reliable components, though, that's huge. It's also having a robust, responsive support network.
So getting help when things do go wrong.
Exactly. You do not want to be stuck waiting 6 weeks for a replacement battery from halfway across the world or trying to get a warranty repair on a dodgy controller. That happens all too often with the cheaper imports. The premium price often buys you peace of mind and actual time on the water.
So the price isn't just for the initial tech, it's for the reliability and the service infrastructure to keep you riding.
Precisely. It's an investment in your usable fun time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this all up. For you, the listener, trying to weigh all of this, jetboard versus eFoil. What are the absolute crunch factors, the final decision points, based on everything we've discussed?
Well, it really boils down to two main things, just like that ski snowboard analogy at the start. First, your revier. Where are you actually going to ride? What are the local rules?
The legal landscape.
Yeah. And second, your personal taste. What kind of feeling are you chasing? Raw speed and G-forces, or smooth, silent flight.
Speed versus glide.
But realistically, for most people, especially if you're riding inland on lakes or rivers, the sources strongly suggest the legal and practical advantages lean heavily towards the eFoil.
You just can't ignore those tighter jetboard restrictions and that massive, like, 3x advantage in battery range, can you?
It's hard to argue with. Speed is grilling, no doubt, but if it only lasts 30 minutes and you can barely use it legally where you live, compared to 90-plus minutes of flying freedom, for most people, the eFoil ends up being the more sustainable, versatile choice.
Makes sense. The eFoil seems like the smarter pick for broader usability, especially inland.
Yeah, generally speaking.
But okay, let's say you do decide on an eFoil, swayed by the efficiency and the legality. Is the decision over then? Or is there another layer?
Ah, good point.
Yeah.
No, there's still a crucial choice within the eFoil world. Comes back to that propulsion discussion we had.
The propeller versus the jet drive.
Exactly. Once you've chosen the foil, you then face this internal debate. Safety versus maximum performance. Do you go for the super safe, smooth, enclosed jet foil drive? Peace of mind, great for cruising, maybe better for families.
Okay, the comfort and safety option.
Or do you accept the slightly higher risk profile of the exposed propeller to get that instant, aggressive thrust and control that really high-level riders or tricksters crave?
Control versus comfort. Performance versus inherent safety.
It's another fundamental trade-off. It forces you to really define what kind of eFoil experience you're ultimately after, even after you've picked foil over jet. The choices don't stop.
That's a fantastic final thought for you to ponder. The performance question keeps evolving.
It really does.
Right, we've covered the surprising history, the huge technical differences in efficiency, the minefield of regulations, and what that premium price tag actually buys you. Hopefully, you're now much better equipped to navigate this exciting world. Go check out the specific models and, crucially, your local rules. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.